Hey PC gamers, and welcome back to the PC Gamer Chat Log. I'm Lauren Morton.
And hey everyone, I'm Mollie Taylor.
And this week, Mollie and I are bringing on our senior editor, Chris Livingston, to talk about mini games. Like all sorts of mini games within games. Like there are card games, there are like activity mini games, there's cooking, there's like puzzles, all sorts of stuff. Hacking, lockpicking, all the classics. We're gonna talk about some of our favorites, some of the iconic ones, some ones that we personally individually hate, and get into what we like and don't like about them. Before we do that though, Mollie, what did you play last week?
Yeah, so I played two things. One of them I didn't play.
What's the one I don't know about?
So I played 2 Point Museum. I actually played it a couple weeks ago, but my thoughts and opinions about that are finally out on the website. It scratches like a really good Sims itch in my brain. I had a great time just decorating. Had 3 different museums that I could toy around with, and they all had different themes. Obviously, it's like it's very 2 Point. I had a really good time with it. I wish it had been a little more challenging, but I had a lot of fun decorating and just taking loads of little screenshots of the museum I'd created, which is funny because that's also kind of how I feel about the other game I played, which is the one you do know, which is Infinity Nikki, the new gacha game. It's like a mobile series. It's finally not on mobile anymore. They've taken like the concept, we've spoken about it before, right? They've taken like their dress up game series and they've like Genshin-fied it, basically like unleashing it into an open world. And I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself. I was repeatedly like venturing off the beaten path. I was having like loads of fun just collecting, just like picking flowers, like scrubbing animals, like catching bugs. I was just really like immersed in this, like it was kind of cozy almost. I mean, you can read my review, that should be up by now, but yeah, like I think my biggest issue with the game right now is just as like a pretty big lack of like any real challenge, which is something that I go over. It's like very easy to a fault. I think I wonder if the desire was there to make something that was like very inclusive. I think maybe out of fear of making it inclusive, they kind of like lobotomized it a little bit. But despite that, I had a really, really good time. I really enjoyed it. It's got such a great photo mode as well that you can like upgrade. Yeah, the photo mode is fantastic. The clothes are gorgeous. I just had a really, like, most of my fun in that game just came from exploring, just poking around all the different like little rivers and the hills and floating. I loved floating. The movement feels really good as well. I think, I just love the difficulty to just be like, I think they've overcorrected. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how I feel, because towards the end of where I got to, which is very close to the end point of where the game is at right now, you know, it opened up way more. You get like an ability where you can shrink down and you hop on Momo's back, who's like a little cat, and you can use it to go in loads of like crawl spaces, and there's like weight-based puzzles where you have to shrink so that you weigh less, so that you can like float higher or you can jump higher. And that was really interesting, and I really loved the way that was utilized. It just took a long time to get there. I had a really great time with it. I liked it. I don't know what your thoughts are, because you've also been playing it. Spoiler.
That's also the only thing I played last week, and to avoid, I guess, being like really one note, because we did just talk about this last week, like a whole episode about dress up games, and we talked a decent bit about Infinity Nikki, although that conversation was before either of us had played it recently, and couldn't have talked about it quite yet if we had. But so listen to that if you're more interested. I also had a really good time. I also really liked all of the like exploration and puzzles. It definitely gets that feeling of like, you know, every little area you get to as you're exploring the open world has like either a quest or a puzzle or like something for you to do and find. There's, you know, a guy around the world who gives you little quiz questions about like stuff you've seen. There's a bunch of very Breath of the Wild style, like physics light puzzle areas that you get into. I love the hair and the clothing physics. It's beautiful. Everything's gorgeous, as it should be in a dress up game. I think, as usual, I'm sort of getting my ropes with the gacha elements because I've played like a little bit of Genshin. And let's see, what else? I guess I'm just curious to see how its success goes over, or like, I hope it has success. I've of course been like a big defender on team of like the cozy games trend in general. And so I see dress up games as sort of joining and fitting into that. And I want to see them do well for sure. I'm curious to see how like the community builds around Infinity Nikki, because obviously you've played Nikki games before. They have an established like player base and like fandom, right? And I'm wondering how that will translate to PC. With like, we've seen like Genshin, there's a very big people get really attached to characters, right? In Genshin, and that's what you're pulling for. And in Nikki, you don't have that. You're pulling for outfits, and you just have like a main cast of characters. So I wonder if that like slight difference in setup will affect like the amount to which people latch onto it. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I want to see it do well.
I think there'll be like a what do you call it? Like a Venn diagram of like Genshin fans and like Sims fans, maybe.
Yes.
Who kind of see it and they go, ooh, pretty dress up, pretty screenshots, like open world exploration. I feel like there's definitely a fan base out there for it. And I do hope that people enjoy it as much as I did. I have my criticisms and I have my complaints, but there wasn't really a moment where I was like annoyed with the game, where it was the game's fault, if that makes sense. Like I was pretty much enjoying my time with it. Like the whole time I was playing it, I wanted to play more. I wanted to continue exploring and floating around and collecting things. And I don't know, like I think that's nice that I wasn't like super put off, even though the challenge is a little lacking. Yeah, it wasn't too off.
The music. Love the music.
Oh, the music is gorgeous.
Every little area around the world has a musical theme. Like you go to the little activity center, it has this jazzy music theme. You go to like different towns, like every little point of interest has like a music theme. I think so many of them are different from each other that every time I hear new music, I'm like, oh, there's special music just for this one little area before I go on to like another. So I love that constantly. Just this
very
very upbeat, jazzy little music. It was very sweet. Anyway, that's what we played last week. Let's go get Chris and talk about mini games. Hey, Chris, thank you for coming to talk to us about mini games. And I want to start with, what do you think are some of the most iconic examples of like game within game mini games? Are you thinking of activity ones, or are you thinking of like actual games inside of other games?
I think when I really think about them, I think the ones that really jump out are the ones that are like just sort of integrated into the world in a way that you kind of need to do them just to accomplish things like hacking, things like lockpicking. They don't jump out as like a mini game. Like you wouldn't just sit there and pick 45 locks in a row, probably, although someone probably does do that. Well, but they're just sort of.
It depends on how bad you are at the lockpicking.
Yeah, but I think when I think of mostly when I think of mini games, it's something that's the game kind of needed a system for you to do this thing multiple times throughout it. And so, something like lockpicking, it's, it doesn't really feel like a game so much as an activity, I guess, or just something you kind of have to do to progress.
Like a cool way. Bring some like further immersion in, I guess, rather than just like walking up to something and be like, hack it. It's like, oh, you want to hack this thing? Here's this other thing that you have to do to make that happen, right? It's a little more flavor, I guess.
Yeah. And then in that way it can get progressively harder, and you can like even have a skill that's devoted to it, or special items that are kind of relevant to it. So that it kind of worked into the game as a whole, as opposed to like, walking up to an arcade in a game and playing another game. But
That's what I love about them so much. You're talking about like the extra little system of doing something. Because Molly, you and I talk about like MMOs between us a lot. And one of my big beefs remaining with MMOs is that they love to distill everything to pressing F or like clicking. And you're like, they want to have all these like neat concepts. And you're like, oh, you're going to go like talk to this person, or you're going to go unlock this door, or you're going to go do this thing as part of the, you know, the mission that you're on. And it all is just press F to do the thing. So I love mini games because they give you a different thing to do. They like, they're a thing you're doing in the world. I think they're so great. Do you have like an iconic one, Molly, that's like, this is mini game to me?
I don't know, because like I think for me, when I think of mini games, particularly mini games that I like, I do tend to think of the more detached, like bonus game within a game type stuff. But I will say, because Chris was saying people don't go around picking like 45 locks in a row. In Skyrim, I was that bitch going around picking 45 locks in a row. I don't know what it is about like lock picking stuff that I just really, really enjoy, especially Skyrim's. I think there's something about the simplicity of it that also makes me feel really smart for some reason. Like hitting the sweet spot like first try, I really like. And again, like you said, Chris, it's being able to like, it's satisfying. It's being able to like build up on that difficulty as well. Because in Skyrim, locks have different like ranks, right? And like the harder the lock is, the smaller that sweet spot is. And I really like just being able to go and try all like the master locks, like see if I can. You're like half a centimeter off and your lockpick just snaps instantly. I don't know. I really like it. It's not that challenging, but it makes me feel really smart. I don't know why.
Were you just going around like breaking into everyone's house because you liked lockpicking so much? You just like, let's go everywhere.
Literally, if there was a lock that I could pick, I was picking it. I don't know why. I found it so like therapeutic. It was really soothing. That was definitely my go-to activity in Skyrim, especially.
I'd say like Bethesda games for sure, I feel like are kind of some of the most iconic little mini game activity challenges. Because I feel like for a lot of people, you're either thinking of lockpicking in Skyrim or hacking terminals in Fallout or something like that. And now that we're talking about lockpicking so much, there was someone built, I think it was a museum of lockpicking mini games in games, wasn't it? Chris, do you remember this? It was like from 2018 or 19. Someone did that.
I think it was a website first. It might be an actual, maybe a free game on Steam where it's like, I can't recall. We'll have to maybe put it in the show notes or something for people. But yeah, it's got lockpicking games from several different games. I think it's like, it is a museum setting where you walk to each exhibit and it's like, oh, you can pick the lock just like it is in Skyrim or in Oblivion or different games, which is, I think, sounds like something would be perfect for Molly to spend a weekend doing. You can just pick 100 different kinds of locks.
Yeah, I should absolutely. I remember we wrote about this. I'm almost positive we wrote about this, and I did not ever play it, and I feel like I should. This feels like the perfect Molly experience.
You should absolutely. We did write about it. That Rich Stanton wrote about it, and I think like it started as like maybe a joke on Twitter at some point like years ago, and it is on Steam now as a downloadable thing. The Museum of Mechanics. Lockpicking. I think it was originally envisioned as like like different versions, like museums of like different mechanics in games, and this one is specifically lockpicking by Dim Bulb Games is who did it. But yeah, it's such a like an ode to lockpicking. I love that. Everybody loves the concept of like the different ways you do it, because even in Bethesda games, Oblivion's lockpicking is really different from Skyrim's. And The Elder Scrolls Online also has a version of it. Even across 3 different Elder Scrolls games, they did different implementations of lockpicking. I don't care for Elder Scrolls Online's. I do it a lot. I do actually like to go around and thieve from chests and just do the lockpicking to steal from things. But like I don't like it as much as Skyrim's. Chris,
am I the only one who prefers Oblivion's lockpicking?
Yes.
To Skyrim's, really?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's bad at it.
It's hard, but it's so satisfying when those little things click into place. It's like nice and crunchy and it has a nice sound. Yeah, there's sort of 5 vertical, I don't know what you call them, teeth. And you put your lockpick in, you have to tap them up into place. And if you do it right, they stick. And if you do it wrong, they all fall down, and then sometimes your lockpick breaks. But I found that one, I think I like that a lot more than Skyrim's, because I feel like Skyrim is just kind of Fallout's one.
Yes.
Kind of over again. You kind of you have the twist and the turn, but I really loved Oblivion's. Yeah, much more satisfying, I thought.
It's just so hard. And when I first played Oblivion, someone tipped me off that there was a skeleton key that you could find, and I went and I got that immediately in Oblivion. I was like, I hate this lockpicking game. It's so hard. And ESO, Elder Scrolls Online's version of that is more similar to Oblivion than it is to Skyrim, but it's not quite as hard as I remember it. I don't remember what the exact difference is, but it's not quite as difficult as Oblivion's implementation of like tinking up and down the little tumbler dealios. So that was a long ode to Bethesda minigames. Whoops. But it's so iconic. That's what so many people think of. What other like series or like types of minigames are just super iconic? I'm thinking of like poker in Red Dead, or poker in anything. There's poker in so many games, or like instrument playing minigames, Molly, that are so like MMOs always will have like a little instrument thing. What other types of like categories of things are like
hacking?
Yeah.
Hacking is one. I saw, Chris.
And it's always different.
It is always different. Chris, I saw you mention BioShock's hacking in our little like preparation notes. Mm-hmm. I hate the BioShock hacking. I love BioShock. I hate the BioShock hacking. It's so boring. It's so lame. I don't know what it is. It's just like, it gets so it's like cool the first couple times. I feel like it gets very tiring. Like,
yeah, it's actually one of my least favorite. It's Pipe Dreams. It's an old Pipe Dreams game where you have it's like a grid, and you have pipes of different shapes that you have to rotate to let the water flow through from the beginning to the end.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's based on an old game called Pipe Dreams from like the 80s. It's not like a bad little mini game, but it's just like, why would a vending machine have a Pipe Dreams game inside? Like, why would a security robot, to make it turn against people, would I have to play a little game where you flow water? It was just weird.
And I guess it's water because it's BioShock.
Yeah, thematically, it's water and pipes, and you're at the bottom of the ocean, so...
But those same types of games, usually they're like electronic when you get that. Like sometimes it's water, but a lot of times when you're rotating things to connect the bits to get a like fit connection all the way to where you're supposed to go, it's like an electrical wiring type puzzle is the theme. Yeah. And that would have made more sense for
I'll go out actually I'm going to say I don't think there's ever been a good hacking game. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a hacking game, and I'm prepared to defend myself. Okay.
Wrong. Nier Automata has a hacking minigame that I actually really enjoy. Oh. I quite like it. You're like just going in, you're like a little arrow, and you're just like shooting like blocks and stuff. It's very simple, but I think it's because it's less so the way it plays, and it's more so just Nier Automata's whole like stylistic choice and vibe. It's like very thematically fitting. But I really enjoyed Nier Automata's hacking minigame. I don't remember getting like particularly peeved with it, because it's almost like a little combat-y thing in itself, because I'm pretty sure you're like dodging like orbs as well that can hit you, if I remember correctly. It's been quite a few years since I played now. So like, there's some kind of skill involved. There's some like level of difficulty that's not like too annoying. I don't know. I liked it. It looked cool. It felt cool.
Chris, you're not a person who usually dislikes things, so I need to hear you tell me what the worst hacking minigames are and why they're all bad.
Gosh, I think, I can't remember the details of Cyberpunk 2077's other than that.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I think I just started avoiding it because I didn't like it. I mean, I'll say I don't like Fallouts. I don't like the little word letter thing you do to get the right word. I think I maybe liked it a little bit, and then it just every time it just kept popping up again and again and again. I was like, I'm so sick of like slowing down to solve this puzzle that's just really boring. I don't know why it's different than lockpicking, because I like lockpicking, but for some reason the hacking it doesn't do anything for me. I'm trying to think of like the worst.
doesn't Assassin's Creed have a really weird hacking thing in it? Or some version of Assassin's Creed? Isn't there some weird, like, driving a line across a 3D shape type thing? Am I making that up? Which game is that in? I swear it's an Assassin's Creed.
Girl, I've
thing.
never played an Assassin's Creed.
Hold on, I'll find it. Chris, keep telling me which ones are bad, and I'm going to look up Assassin's Creed hacking.
I feel like there must have been something in like the Watch Dogs games because you're doing all that hacking.
Oh yeah.
But I think it wasn't like, because you can sort of instant hack stuff with your phone, which is fine to like, set off fire hydrants and blow up people's pagers and cell phones and stuff. But there was something else, I think, specifically when you're hacking a computer. Like, again, I can't remember the details. I just remember, like, I don't like this. This is not doing anything for me. I feel like if I did like it, I would have remembered it because I probably would have enjoyed doing it.
It's in Black Flag, I guess, which is probably why I remember it, because that's the last time I spent a long time. It's when you're like not in, obviously, with the main character, and you're in the
Animus
modern day,
right.
But yeah, the like Animus like computer hacking things, and there's like a sphere, and it's got like you're like trying to find your way around like a grid puzzle on mapped to a sphere. I don't remember liking it. And then there's like a waveform thing.
Why would you take players out of a pirate ship and then make them do hacking games in the future? What the hell are you doing? What is
Assassin's Creed? Just give up on the modern day timeline. I don't care. Just let me be your weird historical killers, please. I'm begging you. I actually like the Fallout hacking minigame, and it's like most people are familiar with it and understand, but it's like it looks like this really ancient computer terminal, and there's a bunch of like characters that don't mean anything, like special characters and stuff, and then there's like little words interspersed throughout, and what you do is you like click on one of the words, and then it will tell you how similar it is to like the actual password. Like you're trying to figure out which one of the words like thrown in this jumble is the right word for the password. And then like based on like it's not Wordle, but it's not Wordle either.
You're kind of narrowing down based on your previous guesses. It's kind of like letting you narrow down. It's got an H in this position or an A in this position kind of thing, right? So it's like the more guesses you make, the closer you get. But then you can overshoot and mess up and have to start over.
Yeah. What series has like really awesome mini games?
Yakuza.
Which type of game?
Yes. Like, what is Yakuza if not a secret minigame collection disguised as an RPG?
What is Yakuza if not single player Mario Party?
Right.
With a story.
I don't know. I think Yakuza, like, obviously Yakuza doesn't really do the whole like more like activity style minigames.
It's all games inside of games.
Yeah, it's just straight up games in games, right? But I keep having a hankering to go back to Yakuza 0, not for the story, not to find out what happens, just because I really want to play that like Scalextric, what do you call it, like the little electric car minigame. I want to play
Circuit Racers.
Pocket Circuit Racers. Like, that's the only reason that I keep saying that I want to go back to Yakuza 0 is because I got stun-locked playing that mini game and then stopped playing one day and just never went back to Yakuza. I do not remember how far into that game I was. I just found Pocket Circuit Racers and I was like, this is sick. Then I just forgot to play the rest of the game. I love Yakuza's mini games. I like that it's like a nice combination if they have some like Sega classics in there, right? They have like Outrun and they have, I think there's like Taiko is in there. I think our editor-in-chief Phil Savage keeps telling me the drumming game Taiko is apparently in a Yakuza. So it's got like some Sega classics and some stuff that we already know, and then it's got these like little, would you say the Cabaret is a mini game? I think it technically is a mini game.
Kind of.
Right?
It's like a management game inside of the game. So it is more miniature than the entire game. There are like several versions of it have like a business sim side activity thing. But like it's got so many, Yakuza has so many mini games in it. It has it has like you said, games. It has poker, it has mahjong, it has Darts. I love darts in Yakuza. I don't know a damn thing about darts until I made myself learn what the different games of darts are so that I could win in Yakuza and continue the storyline and beat all the people that you're playing darts against. I love cricket darts. That's my favorite version of darts.
What is cricket darts?
It's been a while since I've played, so now I've forgotten.
Sorry, I just dropped you like on the spot there.
only certain wedges do you actually score on in cricket darts, and it's like whoever hits that wedge first gets a certain amount of points for it, and then once it's been hit twice, it's like closed. So you're like competing to hit certain wedges before you like lock them out of being scoring, and then whoever has the most points by the end. I love cricket darts. And then it has the scalemetrics. It has, and then like later parts in the series have actual like activity style mini games. In Yakuza 5, there's one where you're working a noodle stand, and you have to. It's this like very hectic cooking thing where you have to cook noodles the right amount for people at your little food stall. It's so difficult. And then that's also the one where there's the taxi driving, which is probably what is like some driving game. I don't remember how the taxi driving works. It's kind of weird. But it's also like a minigame activity for sure.
Also karaoke. Yeah. Can't forget.
Also karaoke. Yes.
The most classic Yakuza minigame.
Did you get to try the
I did.
Karaoke?
Yeah. That was like one of the first things I did.
How's
in
it
Yakuza
stack
0.
up as a rhythm game?
I mean, it's fine. It was good. It was good. I liked it. Like, I wouldn't like go out seeking it if I wanted to play a rhythm game, but it was like for a rhythm game in a game, which are usually kind of notoriously bad. I liked it. It was good, and also the songs are bangers. So
yes,
who can complain? They did a karaoke in Sleeping Dogs as well, which is the only reason I know that song. And I ran so far away because the main character sings it.
Dang. Chris, you also had one that was like a game stuffed with mini games, right?
Yeah, Dave the Diver is great. It has a lot of like fun mini games and mini activities. There's like a Tamagotchi type thing you can play on your phone. There's what first seems to be like a seahorse racing game, kind of like horse racing but with seahorses. But then there's actually like kind of like a full-on management sim. Like you kind of you swim around and you catch seahorses while you're doing your diving, and then if you don't cook them, they can become like your stable of little seahorse racers, and then you kind of manage them, and you can like add upgrade their skills and stuff, and have little races, and you can bet on the races too. So it's like this whole little intricate seahorse racing management sim that's in Dave the Diver. And it has other stuff. There's like a little casino in this little Atlantis-like city where there's little parlor games and betting and things like that. And then like throughout the game, there will just be, things that pop up. Like suddenly, you're not the cook in the game. You kind of hire the chef who runs the kitchen. You do like the serving and stuff. But at one point you get to play as the chef in a flashback. So there's like these cooking mini games, and like all throughout the entire game, like just little games will kind of pop up. There's like a stealth section and a speedboat section. And it's like, just
is the stealth section good?
You just creep. It's very short. It's just a little, you hide from guards, but it's just kind of funny and surprising. But yeah, so that felt like a mini game because it was like just one little section of the game where you're like being, Solid Snake creeping through a warehouse with bad guys looking for you. So yeah, that's one that's fun. Even the end credits, it's kind of the most novel way I've seen end credits of a game do something, because usually like I don't watch the end credits. Maybe I should. But like you fly around, you're floating in space, and you kind of shoot at the names so they come up. So you're kind of collecting each name of everyone who worked on it, and there's even like an achievement for collecting them all. It's like, what a nice way to get people to like look at the names of the people
to actually look
who
at them. Yeah.
worked on the game, because you're actually kind of collecting them as a little like mini game and achievement. So very fun stuff.
That is so nice.
I love an end credits mini game or like an interactive end credits. Near Automata did it as well. They had like a whole like little shooting section for their end credits, which was pretty cool. And they like incorporated like music and other players into how they did those credits as well, which is like very, very neat. It's probably one of the coolest moments in the game, which is saying a lot because that game is kind of filled with cool moments. But yeah, I really like stuff like that.
Is there ever an end credits minigame that's not like shooting? I feel like they're always that. They're always like a little reticle, and you're like shooting at, because that's what you just said that Dave the Divers is, right, Chris? It's also. I think
it's more like you're. Like, how did it go? It was like you were kind of shooting maybe like a black hole gun to catch them and pull them into a warp thing or something. Yeah, I think
it's
that's
like the unspoken rule of end credits minigames is they're always
they have to be shooters.
They have to be shooters for some reason. You did mention cooking briefly while talking about Dave the Diver too, and that's reminded me of I've been on a kick lately. I keep bringing up Kinseed. It's like a weird life sim and like social sim type thing from at least one of the developers that was originally on Fable. I hope I'm not like misremembering exactly how that works, but it has great cooking mini games. I wrote about that in the magazine at one point. It's like, the food is beautiful, like intricate little pixel art. It's so pretty. But then like every different recipe has like different stuff going on in it. There's like one where you like have to like move your knife around and like chop apples in half to make a pie. And then you get to like, it tips your cutting board, and you take your knife, you put it down, and then you scrape it to like move the stuff into the bowl. And that makes my brain so happy. I love that action. And it just like chop, 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 chop. And then you have to like make the top of the pie, and it has you like position your rolling pin to roll it out like this. And then you put the pie in the oven, and you have to like correctly time, when you're pulling it out from a little like, meter that's popping up and down. It's so good. I love the cooking. And like each new recipe, I'm like, oh, what's it going to make me do? You'll see the same stuff, like a decent amount, but like every once in a while it surprises me. I'm like, I've never done this before. How fun. That's so neat. I
think I like my cooking more in the style of crafting as opposed to a game where I maybe like, I'm getting scored on or timed or something. I think I like it more of like, here I am, I'm going to cook. It's a relaxing thing. Maybe it's, I don't need to like to win cooking. I can just kind of do it, but it does sound fun. And I do enjoy them when they kind of crop up in games where it's more of a structured kind of, scored experience.
The three of us have talked about crafting games together before on a different episode of the podcast. And there was a point at which we were discussing like the mini games version of crafting, because Chris, you and I play so many that we know that like it's always menus, it's always interfaces for crafting. But then things like potion craft will have you actually like mashing up ingredients, like stirring them into your cauldron and whatever. Can you think of other examples, Chris, of crafting games that actually turn parts of the process into a mini game? Because I don't know, I just need to just go back and watch that episode where we talked about it. I don't remember if we came up with examples of anything.
It was a long time ago.
It was a while ago. I've slept since then.
I'm trying to think of like crafting as a mini game that I've played recently. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I
think we wound up talking about how cooking is one of the best kinds of crafting, because it usually makes you do activities.
Like definitely.
These.
I can't think of one that felt like one I've played recently that felt kind of like a mini game specifically. Gosh.
You've put him on the spot, Lauren. Why would you do this?
I know, I'm so sorry. It's okay.
Like I do like a cooking mini game that does feel tactile though, like you're like chopping the ingredients, or like you say you're like scraping the ingredients. I like that. I find a lot of
so good.
The scrape sounds amazing. Every day you convince me more and more that I need to actually boot the game up that has been in my library for like 2 years. I find that a lot of cooking mini games tend to go down the route of like the rhythm game almost,
Yes.
where it's like, hit this input at this time. And it's like, listen, we know that I'm a rhythm game sicko. It doesn't need to be in my cooking minigame. I don't want to hit a button at the correct time to make sure that my stuff doesn't burn. Like, let me chop up the ingredients and then scrape them in a bowl and then put it in the oven.
Has cooking mini games in it, Molly.
Oh,
we
does.
We didn't play Paleo for a long time, but I dip back in every once in a while occasionally. And yeah, it has different parts of like stirring, and it's not as demanding, I don't think, as Kinseed or as other super timed stuff, but it does make you do things timed, like you're saying, like rhythm game-ish, to make sure stuff doesn't burn. It can be stressful.
It's my least
Speaking of rhythm and mini games, I thought it was kind of interesting. Core Keeper, which went to 1.0 this year, since the beginning had a fishing mini game that was rhythm based. So each fish had its own rhythm. You kind of had to match, which I thought was really kind of interesting. I hadn't seen a fishing game like that before. And you could kind of learn, like you kind of start recognizing like, oh, I know which fish that is that I'm trying to catch just based on the rhythm it made. And it also like, you'd be constantly running into new fish with new rhythms. So that was kind of fun. But they actually took it out of the game for 1.0. I think it's, I think they said they're working on it. They may have added it back in. I haven't checked, but I just thought it was like, oh, wow, they had this really kind of interesting, novel, challenging fishing game. But I think everyone hated it except for me because I've never seen like a minigame just removed just so they can kind of work on it. Because when I played it for 1.0, it was just you throw the line in and you catch a fish and it just comes out. So that was kind of interesting that the minigame was revoked, I guess, just because people didn't like it.
This is my opening to say that I hate fishing minigames, but before I do that, you just reminded me of Roots of Pacha, the other life sim. It's very Stardew Valley like, has a rhythm game for taming animals. You like take your instrument out, and when you're like bringing back animals that you want to be, you're like, on your farm with you. It plays you a tune, and it's a timed like rhythm game thing where you have a certain beat and different animals have like a different song and a different beat, and it's really cute.
Oh, cute.
That's what that reminded me of. But all fishing mini games are bad, actually.
Boo. Tomato.
Boo.
60 seconds on the clock. All fishing mini games are bad. You know why? Because you mostly see them in like farm life sims, right? Things like Stardew Valley, games where you are busy, where you're supposed to be planting crops, you're supposed to be handling your animals, you're supposed to be meeting people. And what does fishing make you do? It makes you stop. Makes you stand there with your rod in your hands like a loser, just standing around waiting, watching as your most valuable resource in this whole game, time, ticks away. You're just standing there watching the water while time disappears. And then the little like notice, and you have to press a button to like reel in the fish. And sometimes that's it. You just reel in the fish and that's boring. Other times it's a mini game and everybody basically does the Stardew Valley mini game, right? Where the fish is trying to get off the hook and the bar is bouncing and you have to press A to keep up with the fish. And then if you do it right, something comes out and you get it. But then you're going to get unlucky and it's like an old boot. And it's not even a fish because you don't know what you're going to get. Except apparently in Core Keeper, like Chris was talking about, you don't know what's going to come out. It was a waste of your time and your energy. You can just hope. You're like, oh, I'll go to the river and fish at night in the autumn and hopefully that'll get me the thing I'm looking for. Except you don't know. You're going to waste your whole day. It's going to be 7 p.m. You've done nothing but fish. You have no energy, nothing to show for it. And then the worst part, the last like final insult to injury is how repetitive the fishing is. Because as you were saying, Chris, nobody stands around and lock picks 50 locks. Nobody plays like that. If you're doing hacking or lock picking, it's a little treat. And you're like, oh, I'm going to unlock a door. And then you play for an hour and you're like, oh, time to unlock another door. No, when you're fishing, you have to fish 50 times in a row. If you want anything good out of it, and it's not going to be anything good out of it, it's never going to be what you want.
The Stardew trauma.
Wow.
Fishing mini games are bad.
So the Stardew trauma is so real. Okay,
how long was that? Did I get that in under 60 seconds?
I'm pretty sure that was more than 60 seconds, but I'll allow it. I will say I do agree with you in that my least favorite iterations of fishing mini games do exist in farming sims.
Yes.
Because of the time crunch. My favorite fishing mini games are in games where there is you don't have that, right? Where you don't have that like time or energy kind of limit. It's, you know, like Palia, I really liked fishing in Palia. It's not a PC game, but I love fishing in Animal Crossing. Like, to me, fishing is meant to be like a relaxing activity, which I don't think farming sims always allow for. So I love fishing mini games, and I feel like maybe I tolerate them in farming sims, but I like them everywhere else.
They feel like a waste of time.
I feel like I need to watch you play Stardew Valley. Are you just getting out of bed at like 6 a.m.? Like, God damn it! I gotta do the crops. I gotta water them. I gotta buy presents. I gotta hit the like. Are you just running around a ball of stress all day in this unbelievably chill game? Like,
yes,
how do you not have time to like just chill out and throw a line? You know, spend a day just fishing? Are you on some timetable I'm unaware of?
She has to get the greenhouse ready.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
greenhouse ready for winter.
I have to have my greenhouse year 1, so I have to get the stupid fish.
Yeah, greenhouse year 1? That was like,
yes,
that took me forever.
Greenhouse year 1.
We're playing a different game. I am
like... You're not taking your cozy game serious enough.
I'm not, apparently, yeah. I will say, yeah, they are repetitive. I don't particularly love Stardews. I was often kind of bored. It's not super, like, just interesting to stand, you know, next to a river. It's not, I don't get a lot of atmosphere from Stardew. I think in games like something like Core Keeper or Valheim, like there's this atmosphere you're kind of in, and it feels like this is a kind of a respite from the dangers of the world. It's kind of part of the cozy part of these, you know, dangerous, you know, threatening games, like, you know, something like Valheim where there's like horrible monsters and stuff, but you can find a little time to like have a cozy bit of fishing. I would say like probably most fishing games aren't super great, but I think like I'll buy a game if it has fishing in it, like just because I'm like, oh, I want to do some fishing. Weirdly, I do not like games that are only fishing, you know, like fishing simulators. Yeah. I am so bored. It's like, it's got to be a part of other stuff. Like it's got to be a world where I can do stuff other than go fishing. Like if
Are you not a web fishing enjoyer, Chris?
Oh, you know what? I did play some of that. That is kind of super cute and fun. And
it's the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I think it is. And there's more. I feel like there's still more. It's like you can, I don't know, kind of do other stuff in web fishing.
I can name some fishing minigames that I hate less than others for sure. Like Roots of Pacha, again, I also enjoy that fishing minigame is different from a lot of other life sims where you're like sort of chasing a fish and trying to sneak up on it and to catch it, like, and you don't want it to like see you. It's like almost a stealth thing. And then the Garden Path that came out this year, I need to go back and play more of it, but I remember liking the fishing in that. It involves like whistling, and you're trying to like change the tune on this like axis, this grid axis, and you're like whistling a tune and trying to get the right one to like get a fish. And that was nice. It was pleasant, a little sound. I like that.
Yeah, actually, I will say the Infinity Nikki fishing minigame, I could probably like take or leave. You have to like pull the rod. I'm pretty sure it's Infinity Nikki.
Oh, it's one of the like exhaustion system ones.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Palia's is too, Molly.
Is it? It's been so long. Final Fantasy 15s is also like that, if I remember correctly, and I like Final Fantasy 15. So
pull
I don't know
the
what
rod
it is
in the
about.
direction the fish isn't going to wear it out, and then when it's worn out, then you can reel it.
Reel
it gets its energy back.
Like,
you pull the other direction, then you reel it.
I don't know. It's just fine. I say that I'm gonna spend so much time fishing when Infinity Nikki comes out. Like it's not even funny. I'm definitely gonna waste all my time. I'm gonna make like the cutest outfits. Like I'm a hypocrite. Don't listen to me.
Okay, I yelled about my least favorite. You guys are allowed to hate on something. Chris, you did already hate on hacking. Are there other mini games you don't like?
I mean, that's kind of the main one that leaps out at me. I think, probably. I feel like there are some really good instrument mini games, but I'm so not musical that I'm always bad at them, and so I kind of avoid them. Like Chia, another great game for mini games, because there's so many kind of unusual ones. There's like kind of a cliff diving one, and there's rock stacking and carving, like totem carving is really fun. It also has like a fully working guitar. So there's segments where people are singing or playing instruments, and you can join in with your instrument, and that's like a really fun and sweet mini game too. I guess I don't hate instruments. I hate that I'm not good at instrument mini games because I'm not musical. I have no musical talent. I have the opposite. I have like a negative amount of musical talent. So
instruments are hard because like when it's a rhythm game, it maps to like a controller okay, or even a keyboard okay. But when they try to simulate like more than just a rhythm thing, and you've got like lots of notes happening, it does not map to a controller or a keyboard very well, and it just gets very complicated very quickly, I think.
I liked Fable 3's like loot hero style rhythm game. I don't remember it very well at this point. I just remember that I played, because I haven't played the game in like 12 years or something. But I do remember really liking like the loot hero minigame. If I needed cash, I was basically just like spamming that little loot rhythm game over and over again. Loved it.
Do you have a hated minigame, Molly?
Yes, but it's like it's weird, okay, because so Chris mentioned like the seahorse racing in Dave the Diver. So the seahorse racing, Chris, is that you train up the seahorses? Yeah, you train them up and then they like just do the racing automatically, or do you have to control the seahorse to race?
You kind of they race, and then I think there's like obstacles where they need to slide under or jump over. So it's kind of just watching them and telling them when to use their little ability to jump or slide or duck or whatever.
Okay, I can tolerate that.
Yeah, it's not like you're pounding. I don't think you're pounding the buttons the whole time. You're just activating their little abilities. And then they skill up after they win, I think. Or they get tired. Then they get tired and you have to rest them for a race. Yeah.
Okay, I like the sound of that. I really hate like racing mini games in games that have nothing to do with racing, because I feel like 9 times out of 10 they're just not good. They're just not good at all, and they just infuriate me. And also, I'm not very good at racing games, which like probably I think we're sensing a pattern here. In that I'm not very good at said minigame, therefore I don't like it. But I do like the kind of like those old like machines in like seaside amusement arcades where you like bet on which horse is gonna win, and then they all just like go. I like the video game equivalent of that, like chocobo racing is one of them as well, where you kind of you train up the chocobo, you can put some stats into it. I think I'm like running so hard off like vague memories of stuff today. But like the main gameplay, it's all in like the planning, right? It's not in like I have to direct this chocobo or I have to direct this thing. I like more so the putting all the planning in beforehand, and then just like a Beyblade, right? Just like letting it rip.
It's the problem with racing mini games, Molly, is like the problem that we've had with the stealth section in games, right? Is because it's a system that is like an entire other game genre, and you just crammed it into your game without fully like replicating that system. Because like doing the stealth section in a non-stealth game is annoying because it doesn't have a real stealth system. It's just stupid and obnoxious. And doing the racing part in a game that's not a racing game, it's like you barely have
bad.
Control. Like you don't have movement controls that feel good for like driving a thing, and you're making me do it. Like you're a third person action game and now you're making me drive a car, and it's bad actually.
I don't like it. I don't like, a lot of the time I don't like the racing mini games in games that are not about racing. They just feel awkward. Meanwhile, me saying the fucking Pocket, the Yakuza game is like one of my favorites. That's different because again, that's actually you do control the cars in that, but I don't have to control it too much. I just make sure that I don't accelerate too hard on the corners. It's different. I'm very particular, I guess is what I would say. I'm very particular about racing mini games. They have to be crafted a certain way. If you're just trying to like implant like a Need for Speed or something in your, like, I don't know, Mass Effect. Like, I'm not really gonna like have fun with that, but other stuff I do enjoy.
Infinite Runner mini games are okay. I do like those.
Oh, yeah.
Those are usually done decently, the Infinite Runner style, because you're not driving a thing, you're not steering, you're just like moving lanes from obstacles, and usually that gets done pretty well as like a mini game. You also said mini games for pop quizzes suck, and I just need you to have space to talk about that, because I also don't like pop quizzes.
They do. I don't know what it is about like pop quiz mini games. My first thought was Final Fantasy 13 2 has it, and I think it asks you questions to do with like the lore or like enemies in the game, and which is like alone. Fun. Yeah, it's like fine, but I just don't like it. Like
it's like homework. It's like the game is giving you homework. Like, have you been paying attention?
Yeah,
I would be really bad at that. I'm like, I would skip any kind of lore discussion you're having. Like, come on, let's go.
Genuinely, like, salute to all of our guides writers out there who have on more than one occasion helped me with a pop quiz minigame in a video game, because I ain't got the brain storage to be containing all of this information to then use for some of your bum ass pop quizzes that I have to do to get some kind of like weapon at the end or something. Hell no, absolutely not. Like in Honkai Star Rail did it as well. They did like a stupid pop quiz. They do. It was really annoying. Yeah, fuck those games.
What about mini games that we really love, like the best? We've talked about some iconic ones, and we've throughout talked about like ones we love. Are there any others you guys want to mention that are like, this is great?
I think in the vein of like, I like this game that everyone else seems to hate. Oblivion had a speechcraft game that we used to raise the disposition of NPCs. It made no sense. You had 4 things you could do, which is you could like brag, threaten them, joke with them. What was the other one? Brag, threaten. Admire them. So flatter them. So it was like this wheel, and it had those 4 options, and you would hover over it to see like their facial. This was the cool part. Their facial expression would change. So if you hovered over admire, and they liked being admired, who wouldn't like being admired? But some of them didn't like it. But they would like, you'd see like a smile or a frown or a slight positive or slight negative. So you could determine which they responded well to. And then there were like wedges, and you had to use the biggest wedges in the quadrants that they liked. It's like the dumbest.
And then also the wedges moved. It was a weird
every time every time you pick one, the wedges.
It was like
shuffle.
Strategy based.
Yeah, it was like really weird, but I loved it. Like, it was just super satisfying and like dumb. Like, imagine going up to someone and go like, "I'm gonna say something nice about you. I'm gonna tell you. I will
say 4 things to you.
Then I'm gonna threaten you." And then I'm going to brag about myself, and somehow doing all of these things, if I do them right, is going to make you like me more. Like, I don't know. It's really weird, but I enjoyed it. Like, I can understand why it's not ever been put in another Bethesda game. But I just have so much fondness for it, and it was super fun. And it was, it was timed. Like, the longer you took, the less they would like you. So there was like a ticking clock on it. Like, their disposition would drop if you took longer. So it was like really quick, and it was like, I don't know, satisfying clicking the wheels and things spinning and seeing their reactions. Terrible, but I love it.
I've defended that minigame on this podcast before. I also love the Oblivion conversation minigame. It's so stupid. It's so abstract. It makes no sense. Like, why do the wedges move each time? But like, you would get good at it, and you'd feel really good about it. You're like, I just blasted through this conversation. I knew the route to get through that one. It was great. Molly, do you have a favorite, like a big time fave?
I spoke a bit about Skyrim's lockpicking, but I'm gonna steal one of Chris's notes that he left again and say that I also really love Mass Effect's planet scanning. It was a highlight of me playing through Mass Effect 2. I don't know what it is. It's like so simple. It's such a simple mini game, but there's something about, I think it's like the noises as well. Like it's such like a serene experience almost. Like the sound design of that planet scanning is like chef's kiss. It's perfection. I don't know what it is. It like scratches an itch in my brain like really well.
I think it's fun looking at beautiful planets because, like, I like just doing that, like sci-fi worlds. And it did have like a really satisfying, you said, like weird kind of like sound effect, and it was also kind of soothing, and it was also, you can 100% these planets, right? If you find all the nodes. So yeah, like I was just thinking this morning, like if they broke that off into like a $15 game, just like Planet Scanner, here it is on Steam, I'd be like, I would buy that shit. I'd be playing that all weekend. Definitely a satisfying one.
I feel like I've called out some of my favorites already. Like I love darts in Yakuza. I love the claw game in Yakuza. I love because I'm bad at claw games in real life, but it's fun in Yakuza.
So good.
I really like the cooking in Kinseed. I'm trying to come up with something I haven't mentioned yet, and like maybe some of the weird holiday mini games in Guild Wars 2. They have like whole areas, like jumping puzzles is like one whole thing. I do actually really love jumping puzzles. I don't know if I would consider that a mini game or not. It's like a whole activity. I love them.
An anti-jumping puzzle.
But then they have other mini games where like you have to stand on the correct things during the holiday event. And then I love Mad King Says, which is just Simon Says, but you have to use emotes in chat, and if you do the wrong thing, it kills you. That's been going for like a long time in Guild Wars. So that's one I haven't mentioned. I don't know if it's like my top tier, like the best mini game, but like I have a lot of fondness for those like holiday games in Guild Wars for sure. Yeah. Any other shout outs? Any other like, we've talked about so many. This is so many more mini games than I thought I was going to remember to talk about.
So many.
Apart from a quick mention of like, if you put a gambling game in your game, I will lose all my money on it immediately.
Oh,
please stop.
Big time gambler. Please stop. For my sake, like I enjoy it, but please stop. I will lose. Like as soon as in Stardew Valley, as soon as there was a casino, I was like, "Oh no, there's a casino here." That's it. I'm ruined. Thank God.
Someone help me budget. My family is dying. I keep playing poker and Red Dead.
Thank God it's a terrible casino. If it was a good casino, I'd be ruined. But it's not any fun, so I don't really ever go there.
Yeah, I love a good casino. Oh, shout out to Triple Triad as well. I'm not normally a card game girly. Which is something that we didn't even cover. I don't normally play card mini games, but I really like Triple Triad. Excellent card game.
Last shout out from me then. Book of Travels, the tiny MMO by the people that do Shelter. I've talked about it on the podcast a long time ago. I like it, but they have a thing that's like blackjack where you're trying to get to a specific number, but you have a deck of cards and all of those cards have a range on them, like 5 to 7 or something like that. And some of them have bigger ranges, like, like 3 to 15. And when you play the card, it's random on which number in that range you're going to get. So it's like, it's blackjack, but like with some RNG in it, that you're playing against like an NPC. I like that a lot. It's unusual. I don't usually do betting games, but I liked that one. Yeah. Well, dang. That was so many mini games. So many game wrecks, so many mini games inside of games. Good job, guys. Well done. You, as usual, can find Chris, Molly, and I writing on the website at pcgamer.com. All of the usual news, reviews, guides, opinions, all that great stuff about pretty much all the games that we've talked about with mini games in them today. And also, as usual, you'll be able to talk with Molly and I about this week's episode at forums.pcgamer.com. Thanks, guys. Good week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.